Today is Friday, August 7th. This is my weekly stock market update video, and I'll get straight into it looking at the S&P 500. So this week, the S&P 500 had a nice breakout. This is showing that the general market health is very good. After basing since early June, the SPY has broken out into new highs on a good volume profile. I will show in the charts later what I am talking about. And I will also talk about Mike Webster's concept of dirty volume later on in the charts. Next, looking at the NASDAQ, the Qs got back above their 50 daily moving average. This is a institutional support level, so this is very good for the general market. Next, looking at the stocks, the semiconductor index, it is holding above its 21 EMA. You could also use SMH, which is very similar to the SOX. It just has a bigger share of NVIDIA in it. So if you're NVIDIA bull, maybe you hold SMH instead of the SOX or trade or vice versa. This is very promising as semis can and have led the market throughout history and historical bull markets. One thing to consider is it is still below the 50-day moving average, which can serve as a potential resistance when rallying up to it. The DRAM sector, the memory stocks have rallied up to and rejected the 21 EMA, which isn't the best sign. Maybe it's showing that this sector is weaker than the SOX and Photo, as I will go over in a second. But SanDisk reported earnings this week, and it had a negative initial earnings reaction. Although last quarter, initially, the day of earnings in the after hours, it was a negative reaction. It ended up being a positive reaction the next couple of days. So don't take this initial reaction as the end-all be-all reaction for the earnings. Next, the photo sector, the fiber optic stocks. Photo is rallying above and holding its 21 EMA. This brings the question, can fiber optics regain their leadership? I know throughout last year, the fiber optics were very strong and they were leading the market before the memory stocks came into play. So can stocks like AAOI, Light, Coherent, and Corning regain market leadership and lead the market? That is something that is very interesting. Another thing about the fiber optic stocks is the FCC is drafting a proposal. So this isn't set and this isn't certain yet, but they are drafting a proposal to ban US imports of new models of Chinese optical receivers. So the initial reaction off of this news was all the American fiber optics companies were up and the Chinese fiber optics companies sold off. So this does present a potential increase in expenses for the data center build out, which could hurt some companies and benefit others. So I will be looking into this news and trying to figure out which companies are going to benefit. Most likely the American fiber optics, like these names listed here, and which companies could potentially be hurt. Maybe all of this demand for the fiber optics, a lot of it was being filled by Chinese part suppliers. So maybe the data center build out will slow down as the new imports and the new data centers being built. Maybe there's not enough supply from these American companies. Maybe that can slow down the build out, but we'll just have to see. Next, I'll look at gold. Gold has broken above its declining 50-day moving average. Is this fear trade? Is this tied to the dollar, yields, oil? That's kind of up to you to determine, but I will be looking at potential reasons that gold has broken out. But at the end of the day, price is all that matters, and gold has broken out of a big downtrend. Next, I'll look at software. The cybersecurity stocks are still very strong. I'll look at IGV, which is a broad software sector. And this week, Net or Cloudflare reported earnings and had a great initial earnings reaction and has faded throughout today, although the day is not over yet. So we'll just have to see how that closes. But once again, the initial earnings reaction isn't set in stone. So the days following or the week following, we could see moves in net and the software stocks in general. Today, this morning, they had a weak jobs report, and this decreased the odds of a rate hike, which sent the market higher, which the market liked and was a catalyst this morning for the market going higher. SpaceX also reported this week they are saying that they will spend a lot of money on CapEx, and also that they will exclusively use NVIDIA for their data center build out. This is why it is very important to always pay attention to earnings calls, even if you don't own the stock, because while SpaceX was the stock reporting, NVIDIA was the big winner, and I'll look at the chart in a few minutes. A couple strong sectors in the market currently is cyber, as I've noted in the past couple of videos, XLK, the broad tech sector, ITA, the aerospace and defense sector, XLF has been trending and holding nicely, that is the financials, XLV, mainly led by Eli Lilly, that has been trending well. More specifically, the XBI sector, the biotechs have been trending well as well, and GDX, which is the gold miners, I'll take a look at them, and lastly, Photo. So now I'll get into the charts. So looking at the S&P 500, you can see we've been in a base since early June, and we have finally broken out of this base on above average volume. This is what you want to see. I don't have the 50-day average volume on this chart, but on Market Surge I do, and I can confirm that these bars are above average volume, above average buying on the breakout, and then these two red days, two down days, this is below average volume. So that is the volume profile that you want to see on breakouts. Mike Webster, when I was mentioning dirty volume, Mike Webster talks about volume being dirty and it not being as clean as it used to be. Although I do agree with him on that aspect, I still do use volume to confirm breakouts and basically just be one more confluence, one more reason to confirm my thesis. So you can watch his YouTube channel. He has hours of videos explaining his dirty volume concept, and I have learned a lot from Mike Webster. But moving on to the Qs, got above this 50-day moving average. This is actually the 55, but I'll just call it the 50 because it's pretty much the same thing. Nice rally above the 21 EMA, and it is currently above the 50-day moving average. Today sort of retested, and that level is now support. This is looking good for the tech sector. Next, looking at the stocks. Today, they rally nicely above this 21 EMA. This is what you want to see, although this 55-day or 50-day simple moving average can still serve as resistance for this sector, so that is something to watch out for. Next, looking at DRAM. While SOX has rallied above its 21 EMA, DRAM rallied to it and rejected it. So out of these two sectors, the semiconductors are stronger than the memory stocks, but maybe some of that had to do with this earnings reaction from SanDisk. But for now, if you had to pick one or the other, I would go with the semiconductors. Next, I'll look at Photo, which is the fiber optic stocks. Very similar to the SOX, the semiconductor stocks. It has rallied above its 21-day EMA. So it is looking better than DRAM. Can these stocks potentially lead the market again? I would love to see that. And we do have a potential catalyst with the Chinese part ban. So maybe these fiber optic stocks will continue to rally, but I will get into some of the individual stocks later. The next thing I wanted to look at is gold. Gold has been in a pretty serious heavy decline ever since its crazy rally back here in January, but it has broken above its 50-day moving average, although it could hit resistance at this 200-day moving average. I do think this breakout is pretty good. This is an off the bottom trade, but it is breaking this clear downtrend. So, and it's on high volume. So, gold could potentially rally and maybe it gets back to these old highs, which would be pretty crazy. But gold is definitely breaking out. Don't really know why, but it is breaking out. So, that is something to watch. I wanted to look at IGV, the broad software index, although it rallied a couple weeks ago or months ago in June. It got rejected. Now it's coming back. Maybe it's going to retest this high. I remember after this huge decline, everyone was saying AI has killed software, software is dead. But now you see some strength in the cybersecurity names. In this ETF, breaking out into all new high ground. And recently, Palantir has been on a tear after this earnings report. Basically, it's up 10% today. And let's just measure this. So since earnings, it's up 38%. So this earnings report clearly is showing that maybe this stock, it is time for this stock to turn around. Next, I'm just going to look at XLK, another strong sector in the market. This is the technology sector. I'll look at ITA, the aerospace and defense sector. This one also looks good. XLF, the financials, looks very good as well. Trending nicely above this 9 EMA. XLV, the healthcare stocks, trending nicely. XBI, the biotechs, once again trending nicely. Kind of looks similar to CIBR, although it is not back into new high grounds. GDX, which if you wanted to play gold, maybe you can buy some of the gold miners for a little bit more firepower if you really believe in the gold trade. And yes, that is all of the sectors I wanted to look at. Now I'm going to look at a couple of the individual stocks in the market that are doing well. Nvidia, like I said, off of the SpaceX earnings report, had a nice reaction. Nvidia is trending higher. It is looking good. It is not far off all-time new highs. So that's a stock definitely to keep an eye on. I'll look at BE. BE not looking the best, although this stock is crazy and does seem to, if you try to swing trade it, it will stop you out a lot, but it is still a fundamentally good stock, so it is something to keep an eye on. Out of the chip stocks, I still think Dell is the best looking chip stock. If you wanted to play the semiconductors, maybe play Dell, because in my opinion, it looks better than Intel. It looks better than AMD. Another one of my favorites is Credo. It is above its 22-day, it's above its 50-day. It's not that far off of all-time highs, so if this stock can get back into gear, we know what it's capable of. It has made some huge runs in the past, and I do love this name. CoreWeave, nothing special. Broadcom does look good, looks very similar to Nvidia. ARM, not looking the best. SanDisk, not looking the best, still below this 21-day EMA. Micron, looking a little bit better than SanDisk. SK Hynix, not looking the best. Seagate, this one looks pretty decent. Western Digital had a negative earnings reaction, although the earnings were very good, so we're just going to have to see how this one plays out. EWI, South Korea, this doesn't look too bad. It's fighting with this 21-day EMA. A couple of the semiconductor equipment stocks. Lam Research looks pretty good. KLAC, not the best. ASML looks very good. It's fighting to get above this 50-day moving average. AMAT, similar. Marvell got above its 21-day EMA. That looks pretty good. A couple of these software names. NOW, bouncing off the bottom. Oracle, not the best. Palo Alto into new highs. CrowdStrike into new highs. Fortinet looks very good as well. Net today had a very good quarter, although this gap up on earnings was faded today, but it still posted very good numbers. Guidewire looks okay. Palantir looks very good. I'll look at a couple of the quantum stocks. These quantum stocks are still rallying. They look pretty good, although they do have a lot of overhead resistance. And, just for example, IONQ, this could potentially run into resistance at this 200-day moving average and this 50-day moving average. But these stocks, for the most part, are rallying off the bottom. And next, the fiber optic stocks. Lumentum still looks very good. Ciena, not the best. Corning, not the best. And AAOI looks good. So out of the fiber optics, I like Lumentum. As I was saying earlier in the week, this is probably my favorite name. And then AAOI as well looks pretty good. SpaceX had a nice rally today, up 15%. This is a good rally, but we are still up below this IPO anchored VWAP, so I would look for resistance at this level. And that is all the stocks I have for this week. If you liked the video, please drop a like, please subscribe. I will be posting more videos in the future. Thank you for watching.